Sam Harris is a neuroscientist and a famous atheist, and he's written many books, which I've enjoyed reading, books like Letter to a Christian Nation and End of Faith. And here's an awesome throwback clip for you. It's Sam discussing the idea that many religious people have that science is arrogant.
There's a related claim, the idea that atheism is arrogant, and science generally is arrogant in its dismissal of religion. This is really ironic. It's this claim reverberates ceaselessly in the echo chamber of American religious discourse. But it is a profound irony to see religious people praising themselves for their humility while essentially making claims about cosmology and physics and astronomy and geology and biology and paleontology and just dozens of specific sciences that no scientist could make. I mean, every religious person who takes the Genesis account of creation, say, seriously, 53% of Americans seemingly take it literally, but just even dignifying it as informative. Any person who's doing this is essentially saying to somebody like Stephen Hawking, Stephen, you're a smart guy. I see you got a lot of equations over there, but you essentially don't know enough about cosmology, because here, God did this in 6 days, and then he rested on the seventh, and I don't really, that could be a metaphor, but I don't see you really grappling with the nuances here. And the great irony of the popular conception of science as arrogant is that when you go to a scientific meeting, you don't see arrogance. I mean, you're about as likely to see real arrogance as you're likely to see nudity at a scientific conference. I mean, this is people are constantly offering caveats and hedges toward what they say. Every statement is couched in, I'm sure there's someone in the room who knows more about this than me, but because everyone is desperate to avoid public embarrassment. Now, this seems to be something you're not doing.
I love that last clip. He was talking to Deepak Chopra at the end there, who's, I mean, he's a doctor, but he's also very, very big into, like, New Age theory of religion, this idea of different energies, and he always talks about it, like, the word quantum. He throws the word quantum around a lot, and differentiality and potentiality. And people like Richard Dawkins and Sam Harris and other actual scientists are basically like, yeah, that might sound scientific, but I'm a scientist, and he's not making any fucking sense. He's kind of like a deist masked in pseudo-religious terms, and they try to hold on to quantum theory, and they use weird gaps in quantum theory that we don't fully understand yet to try to exploit it to say there's like one consciousness, one God or whatever, and then, look, he's better than any of the, like John Hagee, Pat Robertson, any fundamentalist Christians or Muslims or whatever. It's more high-minded. It's probably even a little more high-minded than deism. But still, in the final summation, it's probably BS, right? And Sam Harris was talking to Deepak Chopra there and saying, you seem to be so certain about these things you're saying, but you can't possibly be certain because you're making a lot of this shit up. And look, the idea that science is arrogant, which I hear it all the time in my personal life. I have friends who have made that argument to me, right? And nothing could be further from the truth, because science is the opposite of arrogant. It's humble. And how do I know that? Because it's a process. It's not this dogmatic, rigid thing. Science is the only thing I'm aware of, other than maybe math, that self-corrects. If they get some shit wrong, you have to fix it. It's not an open question. There were things that we previously accepted as true, and nobody could question it, and then science came along and said, let's look into that. So, for example, the Earth being flat. The first person who said the Earth is round, they were persecuted, they were discriminated against, I think they were put in jail. But then after a while, when they actually were able to prove it, and as time went by, scientific advancements got stronger and stronger, we were able to measure things better and realize empirical realities better. People went, oh, yeah, he's right. He would appear to be right. And it was science that came along and said, let's question this. And science always says, let's question this. The thing that people don't like, specifically religious people, is that sometimes it gives an answer, right? And the answer is correct, but it conflicts with their already held belief system. So, as Sam Harris rightly puts it, who's really the arrogant one? You're the one that's married to an idea so strongly, if you're a religious person, that you say, I don't care if you prove it wrong, I'm still going to believe it. Whether it's the idea of creationism or just the idea that evolution is wrong when we know it's not, or any other religious idea, any prophecies that haven't come true that people cling to, the idea that the earth is 6,000 years old, which it's not. Okay, and what people need to understand is science is a self-correcting process. To say the sentence, as I've heard before, when people say, oh, you're overly relying on science. That's like saying, because science it's a process, but to put it in a nutshell, it's a way that we ascertain the truth about reality or the nature of reality. So to say that you're relying on science too much, it's like saying you're relying too much on ascertaining the truth about reality. But that doesn't make any sense. You can't rely on that too much because you're looking for the truth. So the arguments against science, the arguments against being secular and being enlightened, they crumble so easily. And a guy like Sam Harris puts it in a way that everybody can understand. And I think he does a good job recruiting to our side and telling people, don't buy into the people who peddle our misunderstanding of things, in the sense that they'll take an area where we don't know something and they'll fill in the blank and say, well, see, but come with me because I'm the prophet character who can say I know something when I don't really know something. He does a good job of saying, no. Listen to your mind. Listen to your skepticism. You know, when you hear somebody say something fishy, probably because it's fishy. So Deepak Chopra, step aside. We have an actual neuroscientist in the room.